Well, the new stimulus deal has been announced, and I have to say I'm quite happy with the reaction from the general public, from everything I'm seeing on Twitter, everything I'm hearing real people talk about. I was in a bar today and heard some guys grumbling about it. It's always good to hear people being dissatisfied with the government, because what are the point of these stimulus packages? They're to save face. These so-called stimulus packages do not help the economy. They're not good things for the economy. The only thing that they're good for is PR. And if they're not even good for that anymore, then I'm happy about it. Because people being lulled into having this false sense of, reassurance that, oh, the stimulus package was passed, that means our economy's going to do better. It's a bunch of nonsense. These stimulus packages have always been just a series of handouts to well-connected individuals. It's an excuse to hand out goodies, to hand out taxpayer dollars or money that was paid for by issuing bonds to the well-connected. And now people are starting to realize that. They think it's, yes, they think it's a new thing because they're just now seeing it. They're realizing it for the first time. Oh, this doesn't help any of us. They see that, $600 to individual Americans. If you're talking about, the workforce, it's about 150 million people, but even if you expand it more broadly to like 300 million people, which it wouldn't go out to 300 million people, well, I'll go through both, just in case, because I'm not sure how broad this whole system is going to be, because I'm hearing that also they're going to send $600 out for every dependent too, so that could broaden the base a bit. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it's 150 million people who are going to get checks. That comes out to roughly $90 billion. This is a $900 billion bill. That's 10% of the overall size, dollars that are being spent in this bill. That means that there is the other 90% just going to places like Pakistan and Israel. And I'm not joking. Pakistan gets $25 million out of this deal. Israel gets $3.3 billion from what I'm seeing. There's handouts to everyone, and of course you have all the domestic handouts to all the big companies and such. So yes, this stimulus bill is a scam. They've all been scams. They're handing out let's say $810 billion to well-connected countries and companies and individuals, and to sort of try and conceal that from people, they're going to give folks $90 billion. See how that works? You, the taxpayer, go $900 billion in debt to get back $90 billion, or $600 for every person. Now let's broaden it a bit and say, okay, well, maybe that's $600, maybe because they broaden the base, including dependents and stuff. Let's be crazy and say that they send out 300 million $600 checks. Which, I mean, 300 million, that's more than 3/4 of the population. I mean, that's a massive portion of the country. There's no way that they send out that many checks, but let's just say they do. That would then account for what, 20%? If you double it, 20% of the of this bill. And so what does that mean? Let's say that this stimulus bill was not a fraud, and that this $900 billion really was going to everyone, and it wasn't just going to, the vast majority of it, 80 to 90% of it going to well-connected individuals. That means that every American would be receiving, instead of $600, they'd be receiving somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000. That's how much money is being spent right now. That's how much money is being printed. Let's be frank. This is all going to be printed by the Federal Reserve. There's a budget hawk argument against this, but I mean, it doesn't hold much water because it's all just being printed. You should be an inflation hawk arguing against this. And the $600 checks are really the least of the problem here. It's all the other crap. You could very easily send everyone out another round of $1,200 checks, and it'd be much cheaper than this. Now, do I want America to live on welfare? No, I don't think that's sustainable. If the government just prints money and gives it out to everyone, money has no meaning because nobody's working. So even if the government was doing this in good faith, it wouldn't be a good thing, but it helps me that the government is doing this in bad faith, because one, we don't have the downsides of everyone being handed out free money and we getting hyperinflation. And two, you have the government being discredited. So bravo to Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi. They're doing a great job digging their own graves. I hope you don't twist your arms patting yourselves on the back for all the great things you've done. Oh, we passed so many bills. More bills than any Senate in America's history. Sorry, not my best McConnell voice, but that'll have to do for now. Almost sounded more like Bane now that I think about it. Now, the interesting thing is that the left and the right alike are, criticizing this bill and saying how, what a joke it is. But oddly enough, only Republicans actually voted against it. No Democrats, from what I've seen, did vote against it. Now, perhaps, the reason why I'm only seeing the Republicans talk about it is because maybe there are Democrats in favor of this who are trying to slam the Republicans for not voting for it, but I haven't heard anyone mention any Democrats who didn't vote for this. I've heard, in the Senate, they've talked about the Republicans, who are Marsha Blackburn, Rick Scott, Rand Paul, Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, and Ted Cruz. And I'm actually surprised by Rick Scott, but I have to say, I'll give him a little bit of a golf clap. Hey, Rick, you're actually on the right side of an issue for once. So maybe he's better than Marco Rubio in some ways. So I want to thank all those men and women for standing up and saying no to this. It is a bad bill, and you should be proud to oppose it. AOC came out and, chastised the bill, had many criticisms of the bill, and then went and voted for it anyway. And, if she had any real gumption, what she should do is take a stand with whoever will stand with her of either party and demand that you have a vote on a clean bill without all the corporate handouts, and that would be something that both the Republican budget hawks and your populist welfare state Democrats should be happy about. Because both sides get what they want. The Democrats get money all for the people, and the Republicans get a much cheaper bill. It's a win-win. And frankly, not all Republicans are budget hawks anyway. Well, I should say the vast majority of them are not budget hawks. You have a couple still left there who will take a stand from time to time. Your Rand Pauls and Ron Johnsons. Ron Johnson seems to be the one guy who still cares about the budget. I guess that might be a Wisconsin thing, because Paul Ryan, of course, was he was the budget wonk. Same thing with Scott Walker when he was the governor there. He was big on cutting the budget. And I'm sympathetic to that sort of spirit, because I would like to cut the government budget to $0. Some might say I'm a limited government guy. I want to limit the government to doing absolutely nothing and to no longer existing. That's a limited government sort of perspective, right? But alas, the bill passed with very little opposition, but the popular opposition is strong to this one. Congressional opposition is negligible, but a lot of folks, I think, should try and use this opportunity, try and educate the public, try and, if they have any sort of political ambitions, could use this as a hill, to stand on or to die on. Figuratively, to try and show that they're at least doing something against the system that everyone left and right seems to agree is broken and corrupt. In fact, I would absolutely love it if Trump would just veto this. I know we don't have a line item veto, unfortunately. That was, as I pointed out not too long ago, a good addition or a good sort of amendment that the Confederates made to their Constitution when they, sort of copied the U.S. Constitution with a couple of changes. One of those was giving the president a line item veto power. And if that were the case, like here in Florida, the governor has line item veto power, and that means that U.S. president can veto certain parts of a bill and then just pass the parts of it that you like. So in this case, Trump could veto, most of that $900 billion, and then only let the $600 checks go through, and then say, okay, now let's give people some more money. Veto all of the pork out of there. But sadly, he cannot. So all he can do is veto the entire bill and then demand that they do a clean bill and, maybe double it. Go back to $1,200 or $2,400 or something. Because it's, this bill's just such a joke. And I want to see that fight. the Congress may balk at that and say, no, of course we're going to put our pork in there. And they might put in a little less, and then Trump should put his foot down and say no, because what does he care if he's going to be out on January 20th anyway, assuming nothing happens with the on January the 6th, which is just not guaranteed. I'm still very much looking forward to what's going to happen on January the 6th. I just don't think that he'll actually prevail. I do want them to put up as much of a fight as possible, though. So those are my thoughts on the phony stimulus bill. All stimulus bills are phony, so I'm glad that this one is being recognized as such from the outset, and that people are angry about it. I'm still optimistic. I hope you are too. So with that said, if you gain anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I like to upload every day, and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see folks back here tomorrow.